Good afternoon, lady and gentlemen. Welcome to the round one recap, round two preview of Warrenton's finest fantasy football league. I am your commissioner. I am your host. I am in the loser's bracket, so I am got no horse in this race. And I'm coming to you after what has been this has been an interesting season. I'll get to the games in a second, but there's been a lot of what the French call drama in our fantasy league this year. Lots of controversy, lots of differing opinions, lots of stuff, lots and lots of stuff. And I'm all about it, because otherwise this is just a bunch of nerds looking at their phones saying, well, I sure hope that Ernie Simmons gets me 7.4 points by the half. Otherwise, J.K. Siddledottle is going to really just screw things over for me once P.K. Hobbins goes out from the touchdown pass. Anyways, nobody wants that. But we've got, earlier in the season, we had a lot of controversy, or as the British call it, controversy. No, how do they say it? I don't know. Anyways, we had a lot of chatter, let's say, about trades, whether or not they should be vetoed. Should we bring in trade vetoes, which we do have trade vetoes now, but it's too late for any trading. But we had I think we might have lost Carlos. Carlos, I hope you're doing well. But I think that week 11 trade, or week 9, whatever it was, might have broke Carlos a little bit. We'll try to bring you back all together, Humpty Dumpty. But we've had trade controversy, and now we were firmly embroiled in loser's punishment controversy. Understandably so, because this is our third year of having a punishment in the league. We've been 2 for 2. Dan ate his spicy chip, and his wife almost divorced us for making him do that. And then I don't know how that would work. How often do I get to see their kids if that happens? And then Hannah last year did the flute on the streets of Culpeper. Took her 2 rounds, but she did it, stuck with it, came back into the league. And we always kind of like floated the concept of like, if you don't do the punishment, you're out of the league. But at the end of the day, we're all friends. Half of us are family. So it's like, we don't want it to come to that. Just, honor system, Scouts honor. If we say there's a punishment and you're 12th place, if you're 12th place, if you're last place, you do the last place punishment. Which brings us to our current season. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, because let's actually get to the meat and potatoes of the week, which is the actual what's at stake. The winning portion, which should be what we're more focused on, is trying to win the league and not trying to lose the league. So we'll get there in a second. But this year we had the misfortune or fortune of seeing Paul go 0-14, which in its own right is just massively impressive. I mean, and Paul, to his credit, tried every single week. And guys, the point of our punishment in the league is not only that it's humorous to see someone do something they really don't want to do, but it's really just to kind of make sure that we have a competitive league. I'm in another league, and it's an 8-person league. I'm in second place. I wasn't as bad as I was in this league, but it's an 8-person league, and 3 to 4 people never really checked their lineup. Now, we didn't have a buy-in and we didn't have a punishment. And so I'm just kind of trying to compare. You've got one league where everyone's engaged every single week, even though we had someone go 0-14. And then we have another league where like 3 of the people had 4 spots that were vacant, even though I would say, hey, you got like 3 people in the IR that are in your starting lineup, and nothing really happened, and we're in the midst of the playoffs. So if I win that league, I'll be happy, because it'll be the first league I ever win, but it doesn't have the same kind of feeling as winning a 12-person league where everyone's trying week after week. So again, coming back to it, our league's always been pretty competitive, but probably 6 or 7 years ago, we had a few times where people would have, by week 8, the writing was on the wall that you weren't going to make the playoffs, and that's why we instituted the buy-in, and then that's why we really instituted this, the punishment, because we just want everyone to be engaged. So that's the purpose of the punishment. The secondary reason is, like I said earlier, to make someone do something funny or entertaining that they typically would not want to do unless there was coercion involved. So everyone agreed, 11 out of 12 agreed to do the punishment. Paul's kind of our weird wild card, because I used the phrase, he's a professional man, and all the rest of us are still goofy juveniles. Even though we all have many children and professional jobs and all that, there's still, I respect Paul. Paul, if you're watching this, welcome. But and apparently it came to our attention, Paul let me know that at the beginning of the season, he would not be participating in the league if he was forced to do the punishment. And he came up with a separate agreement that if he lost the league, he would pay everyone off in chicken. Now, I'm fine with that, because if we had a pre-established, not A for me, but B, but all the 11 other people are saying, yeah, we'll do that if that happens, because none of us can pay off people with chicken, then that's kind of where we're landing at right now. There was much back and forth, a lot of decisions about, or a lot of, like I said, just kind of like chatter. We can call it drama about, should 11th place have to do it? Which doesn't make any sense to me, because I didn't come in last. Even if I wasn't 11th, I don't want to set that precedent. Two precedents I don't want to set. Number one, I don't want to set the precedent that number 12 loser doesn't do the punishment. So we've got an issue there. But second precedent I don't want to do is if number one, 12th person doesn't want to do it, we're not going to then penalize number 11 just because 12 is refusing to do it. In this case, 12's refusing to do it, but 12's not saying I'm not going to do anything. I realize that I came in last. Here's your reward for me coming in last place. And it's hundreds of dollars worth of chicken spread across 11 people. So I think we should take that deal. On a side note, I did send out, we are still doing the losers bracket, the $5 buy-in. Although only Hannah has sent the dues for that. So Matt, Carlos, Brandon, myself, and Paul all need to send me, well, I don't need to send me, but everyone else needs to send me the $5 for that so we can do the payout. And in that group chat, as I procured that agreement that everyone's going to, we're going to do the Losers League again, I put it to a vote between the 6 that were involved, because the other 6, you could just vote in whatever way tickles your fancy. I relegated it to the 6 that were directly impacted. We needed a majority vote, and we had 3 votes against having the loser of the losers bracket do the calendar punishment. So, as commissioner, this is my ruling, this is my verdict, that Paul is indeed the 12th place loser. The calendar punishment is being punted or scrapped altogether. We can always bring it back for next year's punishment. Paul will be paying us off in chicken. That will be the punishment for coming in last place in the league. I have ruled. That is it. No more discussion. We got plenty of discussion when we come to the 25 season, when we discuss, hey, how do we want to handle this? And so we can still have a discussion about whether or not someone should be permitted in the league if they refuse to actually ultimately do the punishment. Again, we want this to be fun. I want this to be a fun league. I don't want us to be fighting. I like having a good bit of back and forth and you're an idiot. But at the end of the day, let's remain civil and happy and having fun. That's the whole point of this. All right, 8 minutes of that. Probably should have just been a separate video. Should probably stop it right now. I'll put a timestamp in the comments if I can figure out how to do that, about where we can actually talk about the recap to the week's games. So, playoffs. We had playoffs going off. We had 6 teams that made the playoffs. We had 6 teams that didn't make the playoffs. And by my math, that is 12 teams. And that's what we got dealing with. So in the winner's bracket, Sean at 13-1 had a bye week, number 1 seed. Number 2 seed was Mike, Team Midnight at 11-3, which left us with Dan, Team Touchdown, taking on My Last Year with Greg. And then we had the slightly above average team taking on Michael. So Jason taking on Michael as the overachiever. And these were both very entertaining games. But just going to tease you with that. We're going to follow the losers bracket real quick. In the losers bracket, we had Matt gone fishing taking on Hannah, Team Queen, who just barely missed the playoffs. Chat GB Lee taking on Carlos, Haktua no more. Change your name next year. Maybe that's what cursed you this year, Carlos. And then Paul taking on yours truly. So I'm just going to speed through those ones. Gone fishing taking on Team Queen. Wasn't real close. I think the Thursday night game with Brock Purdy putting up 4 points for you, Hannah, kind of set the tone. You never could quite recover from that one. And on your bench, you had a couple of key mistakes. You left, if you played Drake May, which I didn't think the Patriots were going to play Drake May, honestly. But he had 17. Things start looking real different. You know, you're at 87 right there if you played him. Then you've got Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, scoring 22 on your bench. Then A.J. Brown from Philly scoring 22 on your bench. So if you'd swap that guy out and that guy out for Flowers, who got you 8, I don't think you've successfully started Zay Flowers this year yet. Every time he's done well, you've benched him. Every time he hasn't done well, you started him. Same with Terry McLaurin. So you're going to start Terry this week, and he's going to put up a big old stinker because they're playing Philly. What are you going to do, Hannah? I don't know. Just don't do what you did this week, because in the losers bracket, Matt cleaned up 28 points from Jalen Hurts, wins 102-74. So not so great for Team Queen. Great win for Matt. Next up, Chat GB Lee putting up 101.36 points, almost 20 points above your regular season average, Brandon. But Carlos putting up 125 points, which is about 40 higher than your regular season. 44 points from Goff. 44 points for old G. Goff. 32 points for Amon-Ra St. Brown. By my math, that is 76 points from 2 Lions players, which is insane. That was more than half your score, Carlos, from 2 fellas. If you take those guys out, Brandon beats you quite handily, and you didn't have much on your bench. So congrats to Carlos. Better luck next round, Brandon. Final one. Talk about better luck next round. Pretty upsetting that my team's put up its best scoring in the last couple weeks when it didn't matter. I win the last game of the year with like 120-something points, and then in the first round of the losers bracket, 155.52 points. And it was unneeded because Paul put up lower than his season average, which is saying something, and only had 79 points. So I basically doubled 155 to 79. Just, guys, this is what I drafted them to do. This is what I expected them to do all season long. And, 40 points for Devontae Adams. Yeah, just like I planned. 29 for Baker, of course. James Conner, 29. Yeah, guys, that's why I drafted them. I just planned on being in the playoffs and, having that be a great first-round win for me. Anyways, that's the losers bracket. Moving on to, let's take a look at the winners bracket, because that's what the real excitement is for. Dan taking on Greg. Jason taking on Michael, and both of these games followed a very similar tread where one team, Greg and Jason, jumped out to pretty early leads, and things were looking pretty favorable for both of them, but clawing, fighting their way back in, Dan and Michael came from behind, and Jason, I think at one point, had like a 60-something% chance to win, but he needed his late cleanup guys to actually play well, and they didn't. And the final score is Michael 96.6 to Jason's 88.6, so an 8-point margin of victory there. Both teams averaging below their season average, and it just so happened that they played each other, because if either of them had played Dan or Greg, both would have been handily blown out of the water. But guys, that's just how fantasy works. It's who you get paired up against. So congrats to Michael. Moving on to round 2, condolences, Jason. Now, in the other one, we had Greg, our highest scoring team of the year, who scored higher than his average score for the year, which again, over 120 points. Greg scored 124 points. All you had to do, Greg, was play Jason or play Michael. But no, you had to play that pesky boy, Team Touchdown, who has Jahmyr Gibbs with 25 points. He had, honestly, Dan, you didn't have anyone do crazy things, but you had every single person except for who's this Myers fella? All right, so you had one wide receiver and your kicker. Only guys that didn't get you double digits. So when you're getting an average of 15, 16 points per person, and then a 125-point performance, that's going to equal 136 if the math holds up there. And Greg, you had Lamar Jackson with 36. And you had a bunch of guys, your kicker gets you 18. You can now say you've had a kicker get you 18. But your moneymaker for the season, old Barkley, put up a real stinker. I think that was his, he's had a couple stinkers. But Barkley, 33, 15, 35, 12, 6, real bad week. 26, 12, 32, 8.3, bad week. 33, 52, 19, 15. So, this dude's just been crushing it all season. Then when the playoffs come, 65 yards, 8.4 points for Barkley. If he had put up his average, 15, 16 points, it's a different story. You're probably beating Dan by 1 or 2 points. So cuts deep. It hurts. I know it does, but you had a great last year, Greg. And we'll see you again next year. So, all right, on to round 2. So in the winner's circle, we've got the 5 seed Dan, who knocked off the highest scoring team, now taking on the second highest scoring team, our first seed, Sean. And right now, that one's projected, not even close. Dan, I don't know if you need to, like, I don't know, but you're projected 104. Sean's projected 123.4. Big favor so far for Sean. Let's see how that one pans out. Sean, you're real fortunate, pal, because I don't know if you, like, set your lineup last week, but you didn't have anybody that didn't play, except for Cooper Kupp. I don't know if that was unexpected, but you only put up 73.9. Like, you would have lost to the Weasel. And your bench, honestly, didn't have really anything better. I think that's about what your score would have been. So, is Sean scared? Is that indeed what you would have scored? This, I mean, 73 is not great. I mean, what a great week for you to have your bye week. But you've been the most consistent team all season, playing the right team the right weeks, guys scoring the right time. I didn't mention this 2 weeks ago in my video, but when you beat Mike in that final game of the season, because Dallas blew a blocked punt where they could have won the game, but they tried to pick up a punt they blocked and then fumbled it, which led to the Bengals getting another possession, which they would not have done, and that leading to a 50-yard touchdown to your Prince, which then led to you coming from behind and beating Mike by 1 point. I mean, everything this season's gone your way, including your worst performance of the year coming on your bye week of the playoffs. So very curious to see what's going to happen in round 2. Our other game in the winner's circle is going to be Mike taking on Michael. There can only be one Mike in this league as far as the players are concerned. And Mike, did you waste? This is the flip side of that bye week coin. Did you waste your season's best performance? Because you were the highest scoring team last week, Mike. You scored a total of 100. You would have even beat me. I know, me of all teams. You would have beat me. But yeah, you scored, I think like 157 or 158 points. But did you waste it? Like I said, did you waste it? Because this week you're actually playing a real person, but you're playing Dan. Is that you a real person? We'll find out. Right now, you are projected, you're playing Michael, excuse me. Right now, it's projected Michael 118 to Mike's 112.2. So, the battle of the mics is on. The battle for Sean and Dan is on. Winners of those go to our championship with $300 on the line, I think. All right, real quickly, because it doesn't matter, and this video is very long. I don't think you guys will let me get away with 2 20-minute videos in a row. We got Jason and Greg in the consolation ladder, which means nothing. It means nothing, except for bragging rights of, ultimately where did you finish in the standings for the season. Right now, Greg, 125. What a high projection to Jason's 112. In the losers bracket, we've got Carlos taking on Matt. Carlos is projected 93 to Matt's 103.7. See if Goff can put up 700 points again for you, Carlos, and we'll see if Hurts can continue to do what he's been doing for you all season, Matt, which is not enough, but just enough, maybe. All right, and then we've got the Weasel taking on Chat GB Lee, a very familiar lineup. I feel like you guys play each other 5 times this season. It's kind of strange. Anyways, Brandon's projected 100.7 to the Weasel's 94. I'm taking on my old sis here. I'm taking on the Queen. Right now, Jeff projected 114 to Hannah 111.4. And there you have it, folks. Okay, I need to get back, see if my kids are still doing alive, if they're alive, if they're doing well. Got other things I need to do. But have you guys a fantastic Thursday. Check your lineups. Check your local listings. Make sure you slam like on this video and subscribe if you want more awesome content. I hate it. I've been doing this like training for work because I'm going back to work. And all these guys trying to teach me all these things. And like halfway through a process, they'd be like, so what we need to learn about the cost variance is make sure you slam like on that. Guys, let's calm down. Calm down. If I really wanted to like your video, I would click like. I would click the thumbs up. I know it's there. I've used YouTube before. Stop. Okay? Anyways, click like on that video, and I'll see you guys next week. All right.